Good evening. I'm calling the Monday, November 9th, 2020 Planning Commission meeting to order. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. All right, moving on to the evening. We have the approval of the agenda. First up, do I have any requests for changes to the agenda? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion from Commissioner Gooding. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second for Commissioner Higgins. All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda is approved. Moving on, we have the minutes from the last meeting that was held Monday, October 26, 2020. Do you have any requests for changes to the minutes or concerns about the minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Move to approve for the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting on October 26, 2020.
A motion for Commissioner Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second to Commissioner Toomey. All those in favor of approving say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Moving on, we have a public hearing this evening. This is a variance number 2020-03, location 18704 Melrose Chase. This is a request for a variance from Shoreland Code to allow impervious surface coverage to exceed the city code requirement of 30%. Will the proponent please step forward? Good evening. If you would state your name for the record, please, and tell us about your request.
Yeah, my name is Nick Hawley with Performance Pools, and I'll be speaking on behalf of Allison and Glenn Steves on their variance request for a swimming pool, which is over the hardcover limitation of 30%.
Could you pull your mic just a little bit towards you?
Sure. Yeah, I can come a little closer. I do have a PowerPoint.
Great.
And so, let's see. Where do I point this thing? Oh, there we go. Okay, so at the property that they have, it's a pretty unique lot, and I've got some survey pictures as well to show everyone. They've got quite a bit of current hard coverage, actually to the point where it's over the allowable limit at this point prior to the project we're proposing. The lot is currently 1,801 square feet over the limit, which is about 6% or so. And we are looking to do an average size swimming pool with a very basic border of concrete, which will end up adding 1,170 square feet of hardcover and another 22 square feet for the pool equipment pad that the mechanicals sit on. In total, that's going to put us at 2,993 square feet over the limit. And so what we're proposing to do is to help mitigate the rainwater runoff, not just for the pool addition, but also for the current hard coverage that's over the limit as well. So effectively improving the current property's drainage. See if I can go to another slide here. I'm struggling with this. Okay, so this is kind of showing the hard coverage breakdown here. What we're proposing to do is essentially a drainage trench with 1 inch to 1.5 inch washed rock, taking an average rainfall in Minnesota of 1.1 inches. This is a practice that the city of Edina uses regularly, and the city of Plymouth approves upon variance requests when we get to the limits in those cities. This breakdown basically shows where the hard coverage is at with the house driveway, everything that's currently there, and then our additions breaking down to the overage, and then with some math equations that'll tell us how much linear footage of drainage trench we need, which will be a 2 by 3 foot by 45 feet of drainage trench there. In this lot, it's got a pretty long driveway. That's actually a shared driveway that drains to the street as well. And so in this equation, we've actually taken that square footage off. And I suppose we'll show you what that looks like here. Going backwards. So this is kind of showing our plan. There's all of our drainage points. There's the 2 collection points, which will total 45 feet to handle that extra hard coverage. We're adding in addition to what's currently over. And this kind of shows a side cutout of what that trench will be installed like. And this is their full property. So they've got this long driveway, which is essentially all hard coverage. It drains out to the street and stormwater runoff there. It's shared with, I believe, 2 other properties as far as driveway is concerned. So that, I guess the math on that portion of it has been taken out in the equations that we're proposing here. And I think that's about it.
Great, thank you. Any initial questions from the commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, certainly.
All right. Julie, we handle the report from the city?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, as stated, the request before you this evening is for a variance to exceed the allowable impervious surface coverage on a lot in the Shoreland District. As the applicant's representative stated, the lot already exceeds the impervious surface coverage percentage, and as a part of the proposed pool that is being considered for construction, they are proposing the installation of additional measures to treat the stormwater, not only that would be created from the additional impervious surface area, but from the impervious surface area over the 30%. So staff has reviewed the request against the statutory requirements for variance and has found the request to be in conformance with the criteria necessary to grant a variance, consistent with the language that is in your staff report for you this evening. And staff is recommending approval of the variance subject to the conditions outlined in your staff report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions for the city? Yeah. Commissioner Meddy.
This is a nuance, I guess, I kind of passed over while I was reading through everything, but now just realizing this requirement is specific to a shoreline code. Do you know offhand? I always like to test your knowledge of our code. What this impervious surface coverage limit is for other standard residential lots, or if there even is one?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, the maximum impervious surface coverage percentage is only required in the Shoreland District. So if you're a property outside of that, that requirement would not be in consideration.
Mr. Chair, maybe just an easy question for staff. We're all familiar with the term impervious surface, but a pool, why would that be classified as impervious since it always has a perimeter around it, and 4 months a year, whether it's ice or water, it would always collect water and not shed water?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, that question comes up quite consistently among staff. So when we're looking at impervious surface coverage percentage, whether there is water in the pool or there is a cover over it, staff counts that area as impervious surface coverage, because even if there's water in the pool, in theory that pool is full, and so any additional water needs to be treated coming off of that area.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions right away? All right. This is a public hearing. If anyone would like to come forward and speak for or against this proposal, please do so now. Seeing nobody, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll move to close the public hearing.
A motion to close the public hearing from Commissioner Higgins. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Metty, I believe. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, the hearing's closed. Any further discussion for the commission? Commissioner Higgins.
Sorry. I just have a question on a practical sort of operational basis. This is part of the Bear Path community, correct? And I'm not familiar with how the homes and all of the arrangements where people are living, some with swimming pools, as I gather from this comment, and some of the comments that are in the material we got. But just kind of curious about whether the change that is being proposed here and being planned is something that had to go through some kind of process with the bear path management or not. I'm just not familiar with whether or not there's something else that could happen before we got it here at the city.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, I'll take a stab at answering that. So there is a homeowners association as a part of the Bear Path development. Staff has received some outreach from them, making an inquiry about the parameters of the request, and we as a staff have advised the property owner to make sure that they do the appropriate outreach and follow up with the homeowners association to make sure they're consistent with those rules as well as any regulations that the city has.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Any concerns? Yeah, Commissioner Meadows?
I'll just comment that I'm glad to see that the homeowner is kind of going beyond just the impervious surface as far as stormwater treatment of more than just what they're creating by the pool, but going kind of beyond that to get to that 30%, I think, not including that driveway portion. But I think that's, to me, that's great that they're doing that, and I think that certainly helps justify even more why I think this variance is appropriate.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah. Commissioner Farr.
I would like to move to approve variance request number 2020-03 based on information outlined in the Planning Department staff report dated November 9th, 2020, and finding and conditions of final order number 2020-03.
I have a motion from Commissioner Farr. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Kirk. All those in favor of approving say aye.
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 Opposed? Would anyone like to abstain? All right. Thank you. You're all set. Have a good evening. All right, moving on. Looks like we have a planner's report this evening. Julie?
Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission, we do have two planners report items. The first is a TIF master redevelopment plan, and Janet Jeremiah, the Community Development Director, is here to speak to that this evening. In short, the Planning Commission is asked to find that the proposed redevelopment plan is consistent with the comprehensive plan, Aspire Eden Prairie 2040, and I believe Janet will be sharing some additional details with you. Can I have the document camera, please?
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Janet Jeremiah, Community Development Director. And some of you remember me here about a year ago on a very similar item where we took redevelopment project area 5 and made the boundaries coterminous with the city. And subsequently we found out that we still have a remnant redevelopment project area 6, which is shown in the pink area at the top right of the screen. And that area is just to the northeast of Shady Oak Road. And there's one TIF district in there that's about to be decertified. And there's some pooled TIF that's still available in that district. And we would like the flexibility to be able to utilize that anywhere in the city, which was the action that we intended to take about a year ago. So in effect, we see this really as housekeeping, but state law does require the Planning Commission to make a written finding, hence the actual resolution, which is something that you rarely do. And this does not affect any of the collection of taxes within the city. It doesn't expand that or a TIF district at all. It's just with regard to where we can spend existing pooled funds. So I want to make that clear. And because we have a lot of projects and a lot of needs in different areas of the city, we would like this flexibility, and we do believe that makes it consistent with Aspire, which foresees a lot of these potential projects and needs, as well as our strategic plan for housing and economic development. So those are the major development and redevelopment plans of the city. And with that, I'll take any questions you may have. Well, maybe one more point. This does go on to the City Council at HRA December 1st. So this is a recommendation on your behalf. And with that, I'll take questions.
Great, thank you. Questions? Okay, Commissioner Meddy.
Does this affect, so my understanding is that any TIF collected from anywhere in the redevelopment of district could be spent anywhere in that district. So let's say that there's, and you're saying there's some money in this one that now can be spent in others, but vice versa. Is this only impacting TIF collected going forward, or does it only apply to really TIF we've already collected? Kind of what does this mean for existing projects that we might be collecting on and or money being spent on versus going forward?
Good question, Commissioner, Mr. Chair. To answer that, most of the money that's collected from any specific TIF district, such as you just elevate would be, a recent example. Most of that money is used for within the project and to handle expenses and for infrastructure potentially nearby, but a very small amount is pooled, and that can be used in the project area. And generally, you still have to make a nexus back to the project, so there's only 10% that can really be used citywide. So it gets a little bit more complicated. There are a lot of protections in place, but that 10% in this case equates to about $150,000 that we would like the flexibility to use for a project that we feel does also benefit the district.
Commissioner Farr.
Mr. Chair, are there any potential development projects or consumers, users, property owners in this district, small district, that would have pushback on this idea because it's not like they're losing the right to have TIF in the future, but they may feel as though it's somewhat limited to, their use in the future? You know what I'm going with? Yeah.
No, that's a really good question, and we did utilize a lot of these funds in the very immediate area. For example, the Shady Oak Bridge benefited that area, and West 70th Street, we utilized funds also benefiting that Golden Triangle area. So again, predominantly all of those monies are used in the very, very localized area. But with LRT, we're creating more connectivity, for example, between Golden Triangle and Town Center. That's where we can make some of those, connections that it would benefit others, for example. And it just gives us that flexibility. It's not something that would automatically be done. We still go through processes with regard to being in the capital improvement plan, for example. And like I said, it still has to go through council approval, but it gives us that flexibility.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Would anyone like to make a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, move to approve the resolution number PC 2020-01, finding that the redevelopment plan for the master redevelopment project area conforms to the general plans for development and redevelopment of the city.
All right, a motion from Commissioner Kirk. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
Second from Commissioner Gooding. All those in favor of approving say aye.
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 Opposed? And would anyone like to abstain? Okay.
Thank
All set.
you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. 2021 work plan,
Mr.
which we
Chair-
all can't wait to get to 2021. So.
Yes, we're all anxious for 2021. The work plan that the Planning Commission reviews on an annual basis, as you know, is more of an education type of plan and outlining meeting dates for the coming year. The Planning Commission is the one commission that is more reactionary than proactive, if you will, in regard to your agenda items, because it is largely driven by the development applications that are submitted to the city. But knowing that there might be some agendas that are not as full as others, staff wants to have a work plan that is presented to you for your consideration that identifies items that could be used on those lighter agenda evenings. So as you can see, there are several items identified throughout the year of 2021 that could continue to be discussed throughout the year. Code amendments related to the implementation of Aspire is something you'll find as a consistent item. Also, a review of the recommendations that came out of the recent housing task force that the city had initiated and worked through is something that is slated for first quarter in 2021, as well as electronic plan review. That's something that we are very excited to be looking to implement in 2021, and I expect that there will be some training and other follow-up with the commission members. So staff is asking that you take action to approve the 2021 work plan, either as stated or with some modifications if you so choose. That is certainly within your purview, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Julie. Any questions? Does anyone have anything they're concerned about or anything they want to see added? All right. Looks like a pretty good plan to me. So would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 work plan as submitted.
All right. I have a motion from Commissioner Gooding. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Commissioner Higgins. All those in favor of approving the work plan say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And would anyone like to abstain? All right. Congratulations, you have a work plan. Members' reports this evening.
I have one.
Commissioner Meddy.
I had a question for staff. I was not at the last meeting, which the Trail Ridge Apartments with the parking stall. But actually this happened, I think it was the next day. I happened to see an article that was a press release about that project opening, and it had a rendering of the project. I've driven by it numerous times and have seen what it looks like, and I was very, shocked to kind of go back and now see the rendering again that I think we were originally presented with, and I was like, well, that doesn't, the rendering looks a lot nicer than the actual building. So it got me to thinking, and I couldn't find, I didn't have the old plans from when we originally approved the development, but I'm wondering if there's, what the process is, and if there was any changes in actually the exterior materials from the time that it came through Planning Commission to the time it actually got approved, because I noticed the rendering had quite a bit of brick and really accentuated the corners, but when I drive by, it's a pretty flat, kind of plain facade. So wondering if that's something that staff can confirm, if the project did meet the requirements, and or if the requirements were changed. I can't recall again from when from what was approved.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Meddy, members of the commission. So certainly it is not out of the ordinary for a plan to be reviewed by the Planning Commission and Council, and then as the building plans come in as a part of a building permit, sometimes there's a change in color, sometimes even a change in material. And when staff is reviewing that building permit, what we're looking for is consistency in the type. So it is a class 1 material being swapped out for another class 1 material. And we're looking for that consistency. I would have to go back and take a look at the specific building permit application and compare that against the approved plans. I'm not aware that there is anything that is inconsistent with code because that would have triggered, staff review and staff conversation at the time of building permit issuance. But I can certainly go back and compare if there was change in color or swapping out of similar like materials prior to the building permit application being issued.
Mm-hmm. That'd be great. I appreciate it. And again, I think my concerns was it seemed like there might have been, and I didn't really sit down, park, and look closely enough at everything, but it seemed like there might have been a change in type. What I saw in the rendering as brick, I didn't recall seeing on the building. and it might have been something more like fiberboard, which I didn't think was a type 1, but I could be wrong on there as well. So,
Commissioner Meddy, Mr. Chair, fiber cement board is a Class 1 material in the RM 2.5 district, so that would have been an allowable swap.
I see.
But
That
I
might
can
have been it.
certainly follow up on that, and we will communicate that back to you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Great. Any other members' reports this evening? I'll just say congratulations to Commissioner Toomey on being elected to the Eden Prairie City Council. Congratulations. Do you have a speech or no? All right. Congratulations. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this evening.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Perfect. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.